You get some issues that aren't related to Trimet, and we will help you get to the right person to deal with your deal.
All right, I just found out the good news that this guy is out of here next month, along with his little buddy, Travis Stovall. They're going to be gone. They got one more meeting, and then we don't have to listen to him anymore. This guy here, Warner, is a professional technocrat who gets a $10,000 a month pension. I think it's from the city of Beaverton. You know, these are the people who don't believe in fairless transit, but they believe in themselves getting big, fat fucking pensions.
Deal with your needs. We have this is set aside for 45 minutes, and it's first come, first served. People have signed in. I know the sign up is now over. I would point out we have 23 people who indicated they wanted to speak this morning. So at 45 minutes, that's we're going to have to cut you down to about 2 minutes in terms of testimony. I don't know whether did you hear that? 2 minutes. I think we're going to have to go here. So you have a
what a son of a bitch, man. You know, people go out of their way to come to this meeting, and he won't let them have an extra half hour because he's so much more important.
A timer in front of you there. It goes from green to yellow to red. And if you, when it gets to red, I'll ask you to, if you aren't done, I'm going to ask you to wrap up fairly quickly. And if you're all here regarding one issue, please,
No.
A very effective way to communicate is say you agree.
No, that's not an effective way. They're there to make their testimony. So shut the fuck up, Warner. Get lost.
With the person who just testified, or let us know your position rather than take the time, because I do want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to talk to the board this morning. So I'm going to start this, and I'm going to call you up two at a time and ask you to introduce yourself and then get into your testimony. So the first one is Jerry Moore and Mary Pavito. You're Jerry, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. I'm Jerry. I'm a service worker and a shop steward at Ruby, and I'm here to add my comments on restoring the apprenticeship programs. I just want to add that it can't be overstated how unambiguously and effusively the promise of career potential was conveyed to people who were, in some cases, weighing more than one job prospect. That the managers described 6 disciplines in detail, that workers were asked straight out during their interview, which one of these fields interests you? So I hope we're clear, as we hear from other people, that we're talking about folks making life decisions for their families in some cases, based on something other than the truth. And I want to make it clear as well that I work with people every night, men and women of all ages, from a huge variety of background experience who do have the intelligence to learn these trades, a certain despicable claim to the contrary notwithstanding. And all this is pretty granular for a boardroom. So, I want to encourage the board to look at the largest contour around this issue. And I think that's this. Attacking public employee unions, outsourcing union jobs, cutting pensions, these are things we can associate with a particular political trend. Wisconsin, Michigan, Florida. We're not like that here. Right. In Portland, the sentiment of the majority is clear. Progressives voted in to lead the city, the county, metro. We have a blue trifecta in the State House. Exactly. If how to protect the public interest is a matter of debate, how to reflect the public's intentions is not. Diversity, transit equity, social impact. The board's mindfulness of these things is something Portlanders will always support. But a lot of Portlanders also understand that to nourish social equity and inclusiveness at the root, you have to support empowerment and agency of workers as a class. And that means respecting the unions. No more cuts, no more attacks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish Neil was here. That was excellent. He presented that very well, and of course he's right. You're supposed to be like a liberal city, and here you are doing all this anti-union stuff, and it's been going on for years.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Mary Pivota. I'm the Executive Director of Neighbors for Clean Air. Thank you for the opportunity to address your new diesel policy implementation. Public transportation is a cornerstone of a just transition, and related policy must protect the well-being of all, whether worker or rider, and it must ensure equal access to service without degrading the environment that it operates in. Diesel exhaust presents a significant threat to public health. In Portland suffers from some of the highest levels of diesel pollution in the United States. Why does that matter? Because, among other things, diesel is deadly. According to US EPA data, the annual tally of diesel-related premature deaths in Oregon is estimated to be over 400 of our neighbors, family members, and friends. It's also related to many other non-cancer outcomes. Diesel engines also emit black carbon, a type of fine particulate matter that is a major contributor to global climate change. But this is not new information. In 2007, the state legislature directed the state agency to address diesel and reduce it. And it was the subsequent study conducted by Oregon Department of Environmental Quality called the Portland Air Toxic Solutions, released in 2009, which identified diesel particulates 20 to 30 times higher than the cancer level. Because of this readily available data across the country, many large urban transit agencies began cleaning up older diesel buses in the 90s and early 2000s. In the meantime, despite its green credentials, Trimet, Oregon's largest consumer of diesel fuel, has long operated one of the dirtiest bus transit city fleets on the West Coast.
That's a fact, by the way. That's not rhetoric. That's true.
Continuing to run the most polluting type of diesel motors and even declining to apply for federal dollars when available. The public has borne the cost of being Trimet's filters and maintenance program for too long. For every filter Trimet refused to install nearly 2 decades ago, countless children have missed school and spent hours hospitalized for asthma, exacerbations, and worse. So in consideration of this history, the policy that was adopted in summer 2018, much lauded, remains unconscionable for the agency's same policy to allow it to continue to make any new diesel engine additions to its fleet. They're long-lasting, and we can expect them to stay in the fleet for up to 2 decades. In that same period of time, the amortization and operation costs of transitioning to electric would, by Trimet's own calculations, pay for themselves. It's time for Trimet to embrace a no diesel policy effective immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
All right, the next two are Luke McClure and Sybil Hendrick Park.
Okay.
And I do have a handout, it looks like, from Ms. Park that I'll make sure the board has.
See the camera in the middle? That's Eli's.
Please.
Set up your own
Director
camera.
Warner and Board, thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this morning. My name is Luke McClure, engineer at local wind energy company, bike commuter, and a concerned citizen of Portland regarding Trimet's continued purchases of diesel buses. My generation understands the significance of the IPCC reports requiring immediate and unprecedented action. I see no insurmountable challenges for Trimet to buy all battery electric now. We likely need the $70,000 depot chargers and likely need to optimize between 60-foot and 40-foot buses. But I see overwhelming advantages for Trimet and the city of Portland, from lower costs of fleet costs overall to improved air quality, and it can't be understated the message this sends to the diesel industry and state legislators. November Resolution 1909-78, which resulted in 31 new diesel buses approved, and looking to order another 128 coming soon, states that manufacturer of electric buses, BYD, was non-responsive for the battery electric bus type. However, further reading, BYD proposed that their long-range battery electric would meet Trimet specs. I'd like to hear what the missing items were that outweighed the decision on this resolution. For context, 400,000 electric buses are running worldwide. In China, Shenzhen was the first city to reach 100% in 2017. Beijing will be at 10,000 buses, thousands of them battery electric, by this year, starting with just 1,000 in 2018. Closer to home, LA DOT just ordered 130 from BYD battery electric buses. Trimet diesel plan seems to be to have the solutions necessary, but is not reflected in this resolution. According to the plan's analysis, BEB fleet is less expensive than diesel over time, and savings on maintenance costs is great, and seems like a poor time also to start cutting apprenticeship programs.
Luke, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up here.
Yep, just last statement here. Please help us progress this transition faster and make Portland a leader, not a follower, in dirty diesel to clean electric. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Maybe I'll ask staff to follow up with you a little bit in terms of kind of the decision points and our experience and what we're doing with buses, because we're learning a lot and also have a lot of information which you may not have. So thank you for coming.
Absolutely understand. Thank you.
Hi, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. I return today because after Ordinance 355 about the Southwest Kings Hill Salmon Stop, our business, the Providence Sports Care Center, took your decision and kind of modified our business plans for the future without that stop in its place. I realized that there's a temporary year closure that's set to start March 1st.
Right.
My appeal and request of the board this morning is to consider the very small corridor that runs down Southwest 18th. There is 3 large construction projects. What prompted me now is that the Lincoln High School project just started.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing sidewalk closures, street closures. I included some pictures that includes the Lee Crutcher Lewis press block that is not done and completed until June 17th of this year. And these pictures, while they don't look too threatening, if you have a cane or a walker or even a limp, the first picture, the difference between the curb and the fence is about 2 feet. If you are mobility impaired, that is a great safety risk. The picture looking into the Providence Park eastbound station, there is no sidewalk that allows for a scooter. It's hard sidewalks. It's very impairing for security and safety of our mobility impaired and elderly patients. The exit from the temporary and as well as the entrance, there's slopes, there's trip hazards. It's a safety concern. And I understand that closing the stop eventually is probably inevitable, and that's okay. However, for the safety of our...
No, it's not inevitable. After all these years, they're closing stops to save 2 minutes. It's absurd on the face of it. The whole notion is absurd on the face of it because there's so many other things that make Max late. Closing the stops is not going to make a difference.
Our patients and our public, I really am asking that you wait to close that stop until fall of 2022. I have 2 updates to the dates. The lot that was the Trimet lot on the corner of Southwest 18th will be completed July of 2021.
I like that.
And I did learn that even though Lincoln High School is set to be complete in 2023, the salmon side will be done in the fall of 2022. So my ask is please reconsider keeping that stop open until fall of 2022.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. This is when maybe staff is already on, but it'd be good to go out there and check and see what's going on, make sure we whatever's going on, the access is safe for folks. This is good information. Thanks for coming. All right, the next 2 I have are Deborah Olson and Tracy Farwell.
Oh, here, Deborah Olson. Is this the Deborah? Yeah, that's her. Here she comes. One of my favorites. Deborah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm Deborah Olson. I have a few items. There's no bus. We have no bus on Burnside and Shattuck to get us around. Walmart is stopping their bus as of the 31st of January 2020. Joanne asked me, is Trimet going to pick up the bus service Walmart's stopping?
Nope.
I told her to call Trimet. So evidently the Walmart on Sandy is going to start closing at 10 p.m. The gentleman that was here before who talked about not getting Lyft rides and being late for work was late 3 weeks ago. He's not sure if he's going to have a job anymore. After the last month's public sharing, it was time to I talked about giving school kids free passes. Well, it sounds like the college kids need free passes to get to classes too, and you might as well include the people who are in trade schools. When the MAX is late for any reason at all, those of us who live around the Civic Stop, we end up waiting 15 to 30 minutes or longer. It's the only transportation we have since there's no bus on Max and Shattuck Way. And it's a 15-minute trek. And again, many of my neighbors can't get there. And Dougie, this is for you.
Dougie.
When the lift sends a Broadway cab.
You actually call him Dougie. Is that cool or what?
And leaves me stranded, as they did in October 2019 at the Trimet board meeting in Beaverton, I cannot just jump on the MAX and meet them somewhere halfway between here and Gresham. You have to make the arrangements the day before, by 5 o'clock. So I called them and told them I was going back to the Trimet board meeting to complain, and they said, "Oh my gosh, we see he didn't wait." Well, he called my landline instead of coming into the building to get me, and he was sitting in the other parking lot. He did not go to where we were dropped off. And that $11 million detention center you built, I hope you put a lot of showers and maybe a few washer and dryers in there so the homeless could come in and maybe shower and get cleaned once in a while. I'd like to see reduced fares, please. It's spelled F-R-E-E. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. I'll remember to pronounce your name correctly the next time. All right.
Yeah, sure you will.
Tracy? Excuse me. Yes, Tracy, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Director, President Warner, remaining directors of the board. We live in difficult times. If we don't come to terms with the difficulties, it only gets worse. I am Tracy Farwell, a member of Engineers for a Sustainable Future, and times are really bad for me because, like all engineers, I understand what the UNIPCC is talking about. After reviewing all the data generated by Trimet concerning the board-approved diesel bus buy, I'm concerned that it's going to get worse for the board and for the Trimet authorities because collectively you're not coming to terms. A necessary transition to zero-emission Trimet fleet is falling behind the UNIPCC goals needed for our survival. The SAFE goal is depicted in the graphic I've prepared with data from the Trimet public data. Trimet fleet transition plan is wholly inadequate because diesel emissions are not significantly curtailed for nearly 10 years. If anyone finds this graphic to be erroneous, Trimet can report the real one. According to President Warner's tenure, the board will be electing a new board president in February. Two directors are coming to terms with public health threats and climate pollution. The remaining are not. It's crucial that you select your leadership from the two directors who voted against the diesel bus buy.
I agree.
There's no time to waste.
I agree.
With the public like us explaining over and over the crisis you can't see. If some other director is selected, that will only get worse.
Yep.
In particular, it's hard to understand why a fast-charge 40-foot electric bus with a 150-mile range cannot serve the 12-mile Division Street corridor. But it doesn't seem to qualify against the criteria Trimet has not disclosed. We need board leadership that can ask and reconcile the answer with good numbers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Anthony Forster and Chris Tyson.
Too bad nobody listens to it. I don't care. Oh, Anthony Forster's good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's been a while since we've seen you. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. So good morning, President Warner, members of the board. My name is Anthony Forster, and it has been a while since I've been back, since I've had a chance to talk with you. I'm the Light Rail Transportation Executive Board Officer, just for those who...
He's pretty smooth, don't you think? This guy's smooth. I like him.
Who don't know me. I've been at Trimet for 21 years, And I've served our union for over half of my career trying to make Trimet, as well as the working spaces of the people that I work with, better. The elimination of the apprentice program is what I'm here to talk about, and the elimination of the program puts this in jeopardy. And there are more ways than I can talk about in this 3-minute talk or 2-minute talk, whatever it's going to be, than I can give to actually tell you how much the elimination of this matters. If you don't think the apprentice program matters, ask any union member here, or even my fellow union member, Mr. Edwards, can attest to how much apprentice programs matter to a union, especially where there's members of the trade involved in the union. For me, it affects my safety. When you contract work out because there's not the workers on the floor to handle it, the work becomes less safe. The equipment becomes less reliable. Our managers make sure that the job is done right. The managers of the people that you take this work to are actually there to make sure that there's a profit done with the work. Between people and profit, I'll choose people every single time. I'll also choose getting it right every single time, because too often when I talk to mechanics, the work that's contracted out actually has to be redone or fixed when it comes back to Trimet, because the people that the work was contracted out to have cut too many corners on it to actually be safe and effective on the equipment that it's going to be on, because we transport the public. We transport the most sacred, commodity of our city, the people of our city, right?
Yeah.
We need to keep quality mechanics in-house, and the only way to make sure that we have the quality mechanics that we need in-house is to train them ourselves. Without training these mechanics ourselves, you put the future of our agency in the hands of someone else that doesn't care about the agency. If I had more time, I could come up with example after example, from Columbia Helicopter to literally Scuderia Ferrari, who know that and have found out that you have to train people in-house to get the quality mechanics that you need. If you don't get the quality mechanics that you need, because they just don't come to your agency. I'll choose people over profit every single time. And I'll continue to stand up with my brothers and sisters to make sure that our equipment is as safe as possible. I also want you to support Transit Equity Day on February 4th. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Chris.
Good morning. My name is Chris Tyson. I'm a current service worker. I work out of Powell Garage, and I had some ambitions to become a mechanic. But that's what I'm here to talk about. Service workers like me maintain the Trimet system that, in turn, provides broad spectrum benefits to our community. The idea of you eliminating the apprenticeship program is one that puts our future in jeopardy is understating it. It actually removes our future. We don't have a future. We've reached the top. There's nowhere else for us to go. What that means then is that, like I described, service working basically looks like a dead end. And everyone on the board here knows that service working is far from a dead end. In fact, it is the base to which the system is propped up upon. If the apprenticeship program is eliminated again, it's going to jeopardize our citizens' livelihoods. That they rely on our precision, our dedication to our district. With the concept that we're going to extend the light rail service to Tualatin, or this idea of a new bus garage in the north part of the city, how are we to serve to our utmost if we don't have a mechanism with which to develop ourselves as workers? One thing that I learned when I first got onto Trimet was that as a company, as a district, the success that we're celebrating with our 50th anniversary was one that was built upon the benefits that come from our apprenticeship program. One that has been successful and has been in place for 40 of those 50 years up till recently. I just got off of a bus servicing shift just this morning as I was thinking about what I was going to say to you guys when I came in today. When a bus was coming in and I was getting ready to fuel it, I saw one of our many bus racks with the placard on it, and it has the old saying we like saying, see where it takes you with the Trimet logo. Ironically, as a service worker without the apprenticeship program, I can't see where I'm going.
Good. Very good.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.
Boy, he's a service worker, and look at how intelligent he is.
I have Kevin, and I'm going to mess up your last name, Kaneshita, okay, thank you. And Mary Longoria.
Oh, Kevin Canashino. Oh, my God. There's two union people. Long time union. Of course, married.
President Warner, members of the board, my name is Mary Longoria, and I am here to tell you about a completely refurbished bus purchased by Lane Transit District in 2019. The bus was purchased from Complete Coachworks for $275,000. I want to tell you this story because this board on September 18th approved Resolution 19-09-77 authorizing a Complete Coachworks contract for the purchase of transit bus refurbishment services in the amount of $6.1 million.
Yeah.
After the bus was delivered, there were several safety and mechanical issues. The front wheel hubs and rear wheel hubs had different fastening systems that don't allow the wheels to be interchanged. This caused a major safety issue. The steering wheel wouldn't turn enough to the right in order to make right-hand turns effectively. Kind of a problem. Complete Coachworks sent a technician to Lane Transit District to fix this. The tech came with no tools and didn't know how to fix the issue. In the end, they sent the bus to a local vendor for repair. The left front wheel hub was also found to be leaking. The oil ended up soaking the brake lining, causing a safety issue. I could go on and on. The bus is in service but continues to have mechanical issues. Some of the drivers don't even want to drive it. Again, the board approved Resolution 19-09-77 authorizing a Complete Coachworks contract for the purchase of refurbished buses at a cost to Oregon taxpayers of $6.1 million. Roland Hoskins sat here and laughed and said, there are no guarantees with this contract. This is a hefty price for Oregon's hard-working taxpayers when there are no guarantees. Contracting workout often results in a lower quality product at a higher price. Not to mention the money you're using to contract this workout is going to out-of-state companies. The contract with Complete Coachworks makes it crystal clear on why Trimet's proposal to eliminate the apprenticeship program in state oversight. Profits over people doesn't work for this community, the safety of our workers or our riders. This anti-union, anti-Oregon worker attitude needs to come off the table. And I would like to ask a question. Bruce Warner, President Warner, you did an article back in 2013, I believe, with Pamplin Media Group.
Good for her.
And you said that the board stood behind you for the takeaways of our benefits through the contract. And I would like to know who on the board stands behind this proposal to eliminate the apprenticeship program.
Good for you.
Is it a full board that approves and wants this to happen?
So I think what we need to do is tell you that this is on the negotiating table. I understand that we're talking about the negotiations. We're not going to negotiate here in the public, and so I think we'll let you and the management wrestle this issue. And
these people are not, they're not on our side. They're on the general manager's side. Okay, how many years do we have to cover this stuff before you understand who these board of directors are? It was an excellent testimony by Mary. Nice to see her up there. Very good, Mary.
Hopefully can come to an acceptable resolution for both because we do want to see our workers have the best possible training, and we want to be able to get mechanics on board as quickly as possible. So maybe this is a future opportunity as we get into where you are with the labor negotiations to have you give us through in an executive session.
Takeaway after takeaway after takeaway after takeaway. Trimet is the only public workers union that is destroying benefit. Of course, nobody supports bus drivers, which is the problem. The state tried to take benefits from the state workers. They got nowhere. Of course, the police, they don't lose anything. They only gain. Transit workers, no problem getting rid of their benefits.
Where we are in terms of the process and what other things need to be considered as we move forward, okay?
But in the article, you did say that
Mary, I'm going to have
in
to
the
say,
article said
Mary,
CEO of
Keep going,
Trimet
Mary,
is
keep going.
operating with
Good for
full
you.
understanding and support of the board.
Yes.
I'm just curious if that is the current situation.
I have no idea what
not-
article you're referring
you.
to, so.
Yep, I
okay.
have it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, you can that'd be great, but
Yeah.
on to you.
See, he is an actual piece of garbage. As Cha-Cha says, he's bad rubbish, and that's what he is. He's bad rubbish. Finally, we can get rid of this guy.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Kinoshita. I've been with Trimet going on 26 years now.
What's his name?
I have two questions.
It is my buddy. This guy with a hat here. That's Bob Cummings, I think. All right. Maybe he'll go up there and speak.
What's the plan for the next 5 to 10 years for maintenance? And also, when will we start making a bigger transition from bus to electric as mechanics? As you've heard from many people up here, they want electric buses. But how do we get from diesel mechanics moving forward to become electrical mechanics?
Good question.
And that's a huge question that has been on my mind ever since Trimet says we're getting electric buses. You know, we can still keep the apprenticeship program, but maybe not call it the diesel apprenticeship program. We can keep moving forward, both sides. We've been through the tough times. We've come up with solutions to benefit both sides. And I'm here today to ask, let's sit down, take off our jackets, and come up with solutions. There's many solutions to help this agency move forward with the union. And that's what I'm asking today. Also, when I got here, the first thing I've learned from Trimet from the private sector is let's do things safe, let's get trained the proper way, and let's work together. That's a huge thing for incoming workers coming to Trimet. We've always stressed, let's work safely, let's get the job done correctly so we don't have to keep going back and forth. As an apprentice, you go through many, many stages. And as a committee member for the apprenticeship program, it's great to see men and women move forward and become very productive members as journeyman mechanics. And I think that thing right now is huge. 30 seconds?
Sure.
As the mobility for helpers and service workers to move up, they can become assistant supervisors, trainers, managers, supervisors, even director of maintenance. And as the apprenticeship program, as you have heard, wants to get eliminated, the chances of mobility for these individuals to move up has just been cut completely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's just call a spade here. Elimination of the apprentice program is pure union busting. This union busting started with McFarland and Stedman, who came in with a mandate to cut the union benefits, privatize as much as possible. You know, they may call themselves a blue state and Democrats, but they're just as Republican as Trump and the rest of them. They believe in privatization, and this war has been going on since McFarland.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Next two are David Kay and Shirley Block. Thank you. Please.
Good morning, all. My name is David Kay. I am a Trimet retiree. I left the district with 34 years under my belt from the maintenance section. I'm currently the vice president of the retirees chapter for our local. I'm one of the many people over the years that have directly benefited from the apprenticeship program. I trained in the early 80s. I was in the second class that ever came out of that program as a state certified heavy bus mechanic. This is, like I say, approximately 1986. The district was in growing pains at that time, which it is now, obviously. But following the advent of this training program, we ended up as the national model for what you wanted a training program to be in the transit industry. we took that recognition with work and heart and planning to take Trimet to the #1 transit agency in this nation. We had people coming from all over the world to see what we were doing. We were the model of success, if you will.
That's true.
Sadly, this is no longer accurate.
Yeah, it's funny how he's absolutely right about that. Trimet was the model of success, and what happened? What happened? I'll tell you what happened. McFarland happened.
The apprenticeship program that produced the people that pulled this off has been neglected, and now it is being used as a bargaining chip in contract negotiations. The district has chosen to move to a hire off the street policy. The results have been dismal. I spent 20 odd years as an OJT coach and part of the Joint Apprenticeship Training Committee, and I watched these people come off the street and struggle. There is such a huge difference between a modern transit bus and an over-the-road truck or even a military vehicle, that these people need at minimum a year, most likely 2, to reach a competency level that we would expect. This raises to me a question. And it comes down to, if you're going to need somebody to work on your vehicle, are you going to call the Maytag man to work on your bus? This is ridiculous, because that's what's going on in this fashion. Our apprenticeship program took these folks and turned them into highly trained professional technicians working on the exact equipment that they would be working on.
Yeah,
They learned to.
Yeah, it makes total sense, of course. I mean, let's just be honest again, point it out again. The intent of changing this is a strictly union busting agenda. That's the agenda. That's the point. That's what it is. Uh-oh. Oh.
Ready to go, even better than these off the street folks when they journeyed out onto the floor. I respectfully,
I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up.
I will do so. Right. I respectfully request that instead of eliminating the apprenticeship program, it be updated to reflect our current status and moves to the future. Thank you.
Good comment. Thank you.
Thank
President Block.
There's all
nice
the
to see
thank yous.
You think so?
Still nice to see you.
Come on, give them shit.
Good
man.
morning,
Give
Board,
them
President
shit.
Warner, Shelley, Doug. I'm here, just like the rest of these folks. The majority of these service workers that are in this room today work nights. They came straight from their jobs down here to ask you to not leave them standing behind the broken promise, because that's exactly what it is. These folks, some of them came from out of state. They're here to do a job and do a job well. Unfortunately, you're using this, you said, President Warner, that you don't want to negotiate to the public. It'll be negotiated to the public one way or the other, because I am not going to have these folks without this broken promise you had. I talked to you last month, and I will continue to talk with you. I don't want to negotiate to the public, but I will take it there if need be, because Kimberly Sewell, who is the top person that should be negotiating, had let Leard Cusack do the negotiation, and he wants to turn us into Seattle. We are not Seattle. We are Portland. Electric buses are coming, or gas buses.
Seattle.
The mechanics want to be trained. They beg to be trained. It wasn't ATU who kept people out of the training program. It was Trimet. You guys have control over who you put in there. Yeah. For the last year, nobody has gone into an apprenticeship program. Wow. Again, we have asked over and over to put these people in the program. You refuse to do so. So don't try to blame it on us or put it in the public eye that it's our fault or our people are lazy. Your guy.
If anybody's paying attention, they know what's going on. This is Trimet. union busting. The problem that we that are paying attention has is that 99% of the public is not paying attention. Nobody gives a shit about this because they're paying attention to sports, they're paying attention to Trump, they're paying attention to Hillary, they're paying attention to everything else but this. This is the last thing on their mind is this.
Guys are at the helm. Your guys should be making the decision. If you need help, hell, I'm on 18th and Cooch. Anybody can come over there and talk to me. Call me on the phone. Send me an email. I don't care. But Doug, you know I'm at the top of this just like you are, and I am not going to go out and let these people be neglected. Just like A and B board. Nobody wants that. I asked Laird Cusack, let's do a survey together. He did not want to do a survey at all, and now he wants to know what our survey looks like. Well, I'll tell him, if people do not want an A and B board, they can take it off the table.
board?
And at the end of my thing, because
Oh,
you
you
got the
mean the
red
executive
light
board.
on, ATU endorses transit equity.
Thank you, Shirley. Appreciate it.
Shirley, give them shit, man. Don't be so. I know they have to exist in this society and they're part of the structure, but you're not giving them enough shit. Okay, I want a Keith Davis testimony.
I have Kenneth David Marsh and Zoe Presson. Are you Kenneth?
Yeah, Daniel March. March like the month.
Oh, Daniel. Okay, thank you. Daniel, not David. Thank you. And is Zoe here? Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, there you are. Good. Go ahead, Daniel. You can start if you'd like.
Morning, everybody. I'm here with XRPDX, and the last time we testified to council on reversing your decision to purchase diesel buses that will have 12 to 20-year lifespans, adding greenhouse gases and other harmful emissions. It was explained by the staff that there are backlogs on ordering electric buses. We have found this to be disingenuous, as we've talked to BYD, the largest bus producer in the world with facilities in California and other U.S. locations, and they are filling electric bus orders for other cities in times comparable or faster than diesel producers, due to rapidly expanding plants here. Through their battery lease program, they could provide electric buses at upfront prices comparable to diesel, which have much higher lifetime fuel and maintenance costs. There are multiple studies showing the cost savings advantage, which can be $500,000 per savings vehicle. You know what I meant. There's a federal subsidy available through the Trump administration, put forward a clause that could affect foreign-owned contracts 2 years from now, but that is likely to be overturned, or in BYD's case, less of an issue because they are here in the U.S. Even so, there's no reason not to contract with them. And the regional sales director said he's had a problem even getting a hold of you guys and trying to do vehicle demonstrations. Zero-emission buses can save 1,690 tons of CO2, 10 tons of nitrogen oxides, and 350 pounds of particulates over 12 years, which could be as much as doubled depending on bus lifetime. Extinction Rebellion, of which I am a member, has 4 demands. The first is to tell the truth and that governmental bodies must recognize and declare that we are in a climate emergency and on a scale necessitating a war-type mobilization. The second demand is that we need to rapidly decarbonize with developed countries, reaching net zero by 2025. I challenge you as a Trimet Council and staff to explain to the public why you're not taking appropriate steps given the severity of the time crunch. And I just want to get the 4th demand in here, is that it's a just and equitable transition, pertaining to our most vulnerable populations and communities.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sir.
Good morning.
Just that look on his face.
I am Zoe Presson. I'm a member of the Committee on Accessible Transportation, but I'm not here as a member of the Committee on Accessible Transportation.
Okay.
I am here as a bus rider of bus number 16, and there are 2 stops along Nadeau Parkway around where I live. In the 700 block of Nadeau Parkway, there are there's no places for the bus to pull in. So if I want to catch the bus, either she has to go down to nearly the driveway, Ironside Terrace, or she has to hope that nobody's parked along the bus zone. My husband has had problems catching the bus at the other stop at the 900 block, where he has nearly missed that bus to get to a job. I'm frustrated, people. I'm not saying you can do something about this. I know I've got to go to city council. I don't know how to do that. I'm stupid. Thank you.
I know that's not the case, but maybe we can get somebody to talk to you and see if we can help. Thanks, nice. Thanks for both coming. I will let you know that if my math is correct, I have another 12 people who want to testify, and we've already been at it about 40 minutes right now. So I'm going to have to ask folks to be even a little more quick in their...
Motherfucking fuck you, you piece of fucking garbage. You need to come down off your mountain and let people talk.
their testimony so we can hear from everybody, or we're going to have to shut it off here in another 15 minutes or so. All right? So Diane Meisenhofer and Scott McWilliamson. If you guys want to keep going, get through this.
Diane, he took Diane's.
Oh, okay. Diane's gone. How about Lynn Handlin?
Just pisses me off watching these people. What a bunch of assholes. We'll shut it off right at 45 minutes.
I'll be brief. My name is Scott McWilliams. I'm from Oregon City. I came in on the Orange Line this morning. It was great. I've given the board a copy of this article from November, World Scientists Warning of a Climate Emergency. I'll just read the opening paragraph and the conclusion to be brief. Scientists have a moral obligation to clearly warn humanity of any catastrophic threat and to tell it like it is. On the basis of this obligation and the graphical indicators presented below, we declare, with more than 11,000 scientists signatories from around the world, clearly and unequivocally that the planet Earth is facing a climate emergency. And from the conclusion, mitigating and adapting to climate change while honoring the diversity of humans entails major transformations in the way our global society functions and interacts with natural ecosystems. We are encouraged by a recent surge of concern. Governmental bodies are making climate emergency declarations. School children are striking. Ecocide lawsuits are proceeding in the courts. Grassroots citizen movements are demanding change, and many countries, states, and provinces, cities, and businesses are responding. I would urge the Trimet board to reconsider purchasing any more diesel buses and to purchase only electric buses in the future. We really are at our end of our time. Thank you.
Thank you. We're worried also, please.
Hi, my name is Lynn Spitaleri Handlin, and I'm a member of Extinction Rebellion PDX, and I just want to say we should all be rebelling against the mass extinction that's going on due to the climate crisis. We know it's a crisis because the scientists have told us, and we can feel it all around us. Our house is on fire, and diesel pollution is pouring fuel onto that fire. Now is the time to stop this.
But for some unknown reason, they can't figure out an electric bus in the United States, but they can figure out how to send spacecraft all around the universe, but they can't quite figure out the electric bus.
I ride Trimet. I love Trimet. I ride the trains and the buses. Took the Green Line in today. Public transportation is important for those who ride it and for those who don't. Trimet must and can be a solution to the crisis we are facing. Diesel bus purchases is not part of that solution. Sorry. Diesel buses are the past. Now is the time to buy electric, as has been promised. Trimet should be leaders in electrifying our transportation system instead of lagging behind, which we are. Diesel buses dirty the air in the neighborhoods they serve, causing cancer, asthma, and a host of other health problems. I have a son with asthma, and he's around those buses.
Maybe they're trying to kill us off. You ever think of that? It's intentional. They want us to die. I wouldn't be at all surprised.
And it just makes his life pretty miserable. And electric buses over time will be cheaper in terms of dollars, but also clearly in terms of the health of the neighborhoods, the people around, and the planet. Do you all want to be living in a world that's burning up? And do you all want diesel fumes in your backyards, your front yards, in the playgrounds around where you live, where your children go to school? I don't know if any of you live in those areas where the diesel buses go through a lot, but I work in those areas, and it's not fun to see the kids, struggling to breathe because of the stinky buses that are driving by. Now is the time to be buying all electric and not waiting decades. And the buses that you're buying now, the buses that you were going to be buying that you're not, would be on the road for decades. So the problems that they cause will be here for decades to come.
Thank you. I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up.
Okay, it's also time for a fairless Trimet system. It can and should be done. Public transportation should be for all of us. More Trimet ridership means less cars on the road, cleaner air, and a chance at combating the climate crisis.
Thank you.
Thanks.
John Hunt and Shawnee Harris Bagwell.
Okay, John, give him shit. Man, I know you got it in you because I've seen you before.
Remember 2 minutes, Jonathan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Members of the board, staff, Jonathan Hunt, Vice President, Assistant Business Agent of ATU Local 757. I'm also a graduate from the Heavy Duty Diesel Apprenticeship Program that we currently enjoy at Trimet.
Look at John. John's getting older. He's looking a little older, isn't he? Yeah. I guess we are all getting old, aren't we?
We've heard from a lot of folks today on the issues of why we should not eliminate our apprenticeship program. And I champion that same message. I think we need to look at alternatives. We have some of the best maintenance executive board officers willing to roll their sleeves up and talk about real issues and how to solve them. Eliminating programs is not the answer. The answer is working together. The answer is looking at other opportunities. Rather, that's bringing people in from the outside, which, my former position was in the Marine Corps in maintenance. And while that did give me a leg up when I went into an apprenticeship program, the reality is, as it's been pointed out today, this kind of work is very unique and it's specific. So while we welcome folks to come in from the outside, there still needs to be an opportunity for those folks to make sure that they're trained on the equipment that's here. It doesn't need to be a full program. It needs to be a program that makes sure that we're safe. You've heard that today. And it's a partnership that needs to continue to transcend through all of those issues that we have here. And that is how can we do it and move forward? Previously, we did away with a position as a helper and created a service worker. And the message that was in negotiations in the early 2000s was this was entry level, and you'll have great opportunities to move forward, and it's been expressed today. And those opportunities are not there. We have folks that are currently sitting here that were offered, that came here hoping to have a better life and are waiting as they see people come in from the outside, quite frankly, against the collective bargaining agreement. Yep. So I encourage you to, instead of fighting us right now, instead of at the table talking about the issue, we'd rather go to court to see if we should talk about it at all. Well, that doesn't work for us. And so I ask you to encourage the negotiating team to sit down with us and talk about those issues, whether it be kids from high school that are coming in to truly be a helper and learn what a wrench is and a screwdriver and then work their way up. But eliminating our apprenticeship program is not the answer. Putting energy into it is. And it's been stated here before that this was the number one. Transportation Learning Center and groups throughout the United States would come here to look at that. And I'm proud of that, and I want to continue that. So my message is I'm here to work collectively. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to give up, and we're not going to go away. And I would encourage the board members to talk about maybe a different venue than what we currently have in communication, because I find it really unfortunate that over 3,500 members are limited to a 2 or 3 minute voice in this forum without having really good conversations. We need a better way of communicating what's going on and how can we fix it. We are your partners. Please keep us in the loop. Thank you,
Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Shawnee Harris Bagwell, and I am here on behalf of the Portland African American Leadership Forum. We help Black community imagine the alternatives we deserve and build our civic participation and leadership to achieve those alternatives. Our members and community have laid out a vision of a thriving, empowered Black community and asserts the rights of Black people to be in and shape community, whatever neighborhoods we live in, from the north to the numbers as part of the People's Plan. Through our plan, we have grounded ourselves as a collective of Black individuals, citizens, and organizations in answering the core key question, what do Portland's Black communities want, and what do we propose to move forward? We want to honor the legacy of Rosa Parks and those who worked with her, like Claudette Colvin, who at the age of 15 also refused to give up her seat for justice and access for all of us to have basic human rights. We are here in coalition today because we believe that transit equity is long overdue. We recognize that in order to achieve enduring positive change in our communities, we need a truly transformative agenda, one that is exciting and fresh, one that challenges the status quo and keeps pushing for real change. I'm here today with the Transit Equity Day Coalition to urge you all to take one teensy step toward that change. Join us now in supporting honoring Rosa Parks with more than just kind words of remembrance and provide free transit on all Trimet lines on her birthday, February 4th. We call upon you all to honor her legacy and support our People's Plan by making sure this resolution is bold and turns a day of remembrance into a day of service to community, acknowledging this incredible woman's successes and amending the resolution to honor what our coalition had intentionally asked from the very beginning, a day of free transit in honor of the mother of the freedom movement.
Thank you.
I also have a copy of the resolution for the board.
Next two is E.D. Mundane and Tristan Isaac.
Oh, Tristan the man. Tristan the man. John's getting old. And there's Eli. There's my buddy Eli. We're going to go. Yeah, we got that camera pointing right at you, board. Right.
Good morning.
My man Eli's there.
Good morning, Mr. President. This is an honor to be here with you today.
Who's this?
I'm E.D. Mondane, and I am the Regional Vice President for the NAACP, and also the sitting president of the local Chapter 1120. You've been introduced to Claudette Colvin, and you know who Rosa Parks is. Claudette, a 15-year-old girl, and Rosa, a 42-year-old woman. And I want to introduce you also to Olivet Mondane, my mother, who years later, 10 years later, after this great movement, sitting in the front of the bus on her way to work, was told that on a crowded bus, a woman about her same age made very unapologetically a statement that said, "I remember the good old days when you folks had to sit in the back of the bus." I'm in partnership with the resolution that is to be honored for Rosa Parks on her birthday, and I also ask that we would turn those boxes off on that day. It just wouldn't be a small step. It would be a big step, a giant step towards real equity. We talk about equity, but what is equity if it's not put in the hands of the right people? I'm asking that you deliver equal equity and real equity to the people of Portland, and especially where it concerns the African American community.
There you go.
This giant step forward would show good faith in our community, as you have done before. You've done an amazing job at making some interesting turnarounds that have made this system better for our people. But we want you to go one step further and turn the boxes off on February 4th. Thank you so much.
They did it for next year, not this year. Which was just brought to my attention that next year it's on a Sunday and this year it's on a weekend.
Good morning, Trimet Board. My
Tristan?
name is Tristan. I am a member of the Bus Riders Unite Steering Committee. To begin, I would like to say that Bus Riders Unite stands in solidarity with the workers of Amalgamated Transit Union 757 as they fight to save apprenticeship programs that have supported good jobs in our communities for 40 years. To the leadership of Trimet, I say support your workers and respect the contract. Apprenticeships are not a bargaining chip.
Right.
On December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks boarded a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. When a white man embarked sometime after her, she was ordered to vacate her row in order for the man to take her seat. She refused, not as an isolated act of defiance, but as a part of a coordinated campaign by groups including the Montgomery NAACP to protest the racist segregation of their state. Today, we remember Rosa Parks as the mother of the freedom movement. During a period in U.S. history where most mass transportation was privatized and closed and monopolized for profit, she held her ground against the capitalist notion that freedom of movement was a commodity to be bought and sold, rather than a fundamental human right. As the agitations of Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. laid bare the injustice of segregation, so too did they expose the inequities of exploiting the fundamental human right to movement. Their actions shifted the paradigm of transit from merely a product to be bought and sold to a public good, held in common for the use and benefit of all. Contrary to the spread of private automobiles and freeways which only serve to disrupt and destroy black communities, the rise of public transportation largely enriched every community it served. Though born of lofty ideals, this reclamation of the commons remained mired in the inequities of capitalism which Dr. King often derided. To this day, one barrier remains to be surmounted. The very word public implies that, like a park or sidewalk, our transit system ought to be accessible to all. For many in our communities, though, this is simply not the case. Between rent, groceries, medical care, and other costs of living, even a seemingly affordable $2.50 is too much of a burden for working families. Very recently, we worked with Trimet to implement a low-income fare, which was a sorely needed respite. Prior to that, you granted our request to extend transfer time on single-use fares, providing great benefit to your riders. You listened to us in the past. We ask you to listen again now. Accessible and truly public transit is possible. We won't get there today or even this year, but we can and we must. Before you today is a resolution to honor Rosa Parks on February 4th, her birthday. To truly honor the First Lady of Civil Rights, you must honor everything she stood for. If you're here right now, she would tell you that no one should have to give up their seat for the color of their skin nor the weight of their purse. We ask only this: do not allow this resolution to pass without a commitment to free transit for all of your riders on Transit Equity Day, Rosa Parks' birthday. To do anything less would be to betray the legacy of a hero of the civil rights movement. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Mike McCurnery, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Vanessa Nichols.
That guy's not cutting the meeting. I mean, come on, Warner.
Warner and our Trimet president and board, and my ATU family, and the greater metropolitan representatives here. I want to proudly say I am a bus operator, and I took Max in to this meeting this morning, and I use Max for work every day. In an effort to try and keep things short, I'm kind of condense some things. I want to say this. You know, there's a precedent in our community to help keep our community, our city livable and viable. It's called see something, say something. The person speaking up may just be the voice that thwarts a potentially bad outcome for someone or something. On the other hand, it may also serve to be a support, like the time I saw a middle-aged man who tripped and fell in the dark on a Portland street. He was into his phone and he felt he gashed his head. He needed help. Blood was running everywhere. I spoke out. I called our dispatch. They said, yes, pull aside and help him. So we were able to get him the help that he needed. No one knows this except for that man and the EMT workers who came to help him that night, and myself. There are many instances like that. See something, say something. I even saw a Trimet light pole, where someone gashed the concrete around the side of it. It was ready to topple over. It was very unsafe. I called our dispatch. I called the property authorities. I saw something, said something. To this day, that pole is now replaced. Our voices are strong, and they need to be out there. So today is no different. I'm here to speak out for the continuance of our maintenance and apprenticeship programs, because it's a good thing. It's a viable thing for our city, for our people, our families in this community.
It is.
Let me cut this a little short here to say this. In the morning, when I came in from a morning run, I had a question for one of our maintenance workers. She said, follow me. I followed her. I followed her around until she got the answer that I needed. And I just graciously thanked her. She said, we do this for you all. You know, we learn, and we do this for you all to keep a safe riding bus for you in the community. So I want to say thank you, and we support Transit Day, support the Transit Equity Day on February 2nd.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Sorry. My name is Michael McCurry. I've been a bus driver for 12 years almost here at Merlo, at Merlo, and now I'm an ATU representative for Merlo, the West Side, which I believe is your district, Mr. President, most of Washington County. And I stand with all of us for the not elimination of apprenticeship programs. And I do point out that with the folks that have said the same thing in regards to equity, it's those same people that use the apprenticeship program because they can't afford to get education elsewhere. Someone said that that Trimet is not a community college. Well, a community college is a government agency to provide education. We kind of blend over to that because it's a trade. And this is extremely important to communities. And speaking of communities, Trimet has on multiple occasions deceived the public by saying we're not recording audio, which we are now, for the safety of everyone involved. And we also have a chief negotiator that believes public employees shouldn't have retirement. He said this in front of many witnesses. That's weird and kind of a contradiction for a government worker. So I asked this board, pretty simply, strip that person, who is Laird Cusack, of his retirement, because apparently he doesn't need it. Anyway, that is all.
Thank you very much. All right. Board, we have about 6 more. We doing okay?
Yep.
All right. Let's go on then. Darren Harold Golden and R.A. Fonts.
Mr. President, board members, R.A. Fonts, good morning.
And we do have your information here. I'll pass out to everybody, okay?
Okay, great. That's background. I think it's important. It fundamentally affects Trimet's future, but they
This guy's been around forever.
rarely get discussed. Rail fails. Without exception, after 33 years, every local rail project fails to provide cost-effective transportation. There have always been options which could provide better service at lower cost.
That's right.
WES is irrefutable evidence that Trimet is out of control. It never penciled out.
Right.
It could only be cost-effective if riders were climbing all over each other and paying premium fares. Trimet should never have built WES, or at least should have shut it down years ago. And that FTA 20-year operating requirement, well, your own legal staff can't find it. It makes no difference how many times
It's 50 years.
a Trimet staffer has told you or media outlets about it. It does not exist. Just ask legal.
It's really good, Bonham.
5 more years with a P&W? Really? Just say no.
Yeah.
Serve more riders, gain cred. Just say no. The Portland streetcar is a problem for TriMet riders and taxpayers only because TriMet has made it so. Streetcar costs 40 to 45% more to run than a similar capacity 60-foot bus. Since streetcar costs so much to run and Portland refuses to ask riders to pay anything like their fair share, TriMet ends up denying riders transportation by carrying so much of streetcar's burdens.
That's true.
MAX should be cost effective. One operator can move a lot of riders. Since MAX costs about 3 times as much to run as a 60-foot bus, it needs to carry at least 3 times as many riders on average through the maximum load sections as TriMet would plan to carry in a 60-foot bus to be cost effective. That's just 45% of capacity. MAX is running at less than half of that and less than 14% overall. We're overspending on MAX for ops alone about $60 million a year. Overspending on rail ops totally wastes more than enough money to provide over 500,000 bus hours in revenue service each year. This is 500,000 hours of service for which we are paying, but not getting because the money is being diverted to prop up underperforming rail.
He's right.
I just want to say that you need to rescind the Southwest Corridor recommendation. It is going to kill TriMet, guaranteed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with him on it.
Hello and good morning, Trimet board members. President Warner. Thank you for opening up your space to allow for the ever-important voice of the people.
You're not
I'm here on behalf of the Urban League of
it's
Portland.
the law.
Our mission is to empower African Americans and other Oregonians to achieve equality in education, employment, and economic security. The people are and always have been the true driver of change in America. It is why I sit here today, to address equity, advancement of values, and positive change. But more importantly, to talk about a woman who sacrificed so much on the day she chose to sit with dignity. Rosa Parks' actions on December 1st, 1955 on that Montgomery, Alabama bus line, rejecting bus driver James Blake's order to relinquish her seat to a white man, ultimately were the spark that ignited the Montgomery bus boycott, lasting 381 days. This boycott indirectly led to the U.S. Supreme Court decision of Browder v. Gale, a decision that ruled segregation on public transit systems unconstitutional. Through this, overturning an even older case on segregation on a transit system, Plessy v. Ferguson. You see, the people were the power. Those some odd 40,000 black commuters banded together to stand for change, to walk, run, and march for change for 381 days. Like many times in history before, we see the strong actions, perseverance, and resilience of our black women become the drivers in movements. From Lucy Parsons organizing and advocating for workers' rights in the 8-hour workday in Chicago, as well as the first May Day in 1886, to Fannie Lou Hamer of Mississippi being sick and tired of being sick and tired, and working to pass landmark policy, the Voting Rights Act, ensuring that no person be denied the right to vote based on the color or race. Rosa Parks is an American hero and should be honored and remembered as such. In America, we fail to lift up our black heroes, specifically our black women heroes. With this resolution, we have the chance to do both. We have a chance to push for equity while also reminding the community that they have a voice and can make change. Our leaders and heroes are riding the bus now, unaware of the impact they will have on the world, much like Rosa Parks on that December 1st day. Please use this resolution as a chance to advance growth of values and equity. Please use this resolution as a chance to provide remembrance of Rosa Parks. Please use this resolution as a chance to provide free transit for the bus riders of the Metro community on February 4th, Rosa Parks' birthday, for our hardworking citizens. Please use this resolution as a chance to not criminalize poverty and move towards the value that public transportation is a human right. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles Ormsby and David Rainey.
Oh, Charles Ormsby. Okay, Lake Oswego.
And Charles, we do get all your emails, and good. And
Get all
if
your
you're
emails.
still talking about the same topic, please be brief.
Please
All right,
be
thank you.
brief.
Just to report very briefly to TriMet Board,
Poor
we
Charles.
did have a field meeting at the intersection of State Street and B Avenue in Lake Oswego. We are communicating. I take a little umbrage with the response of the planning director of Lake Oswego, and I will be addressing that. I've just been overwhelmed in the last month. but it points out the lingo that we all commonly have to learn and speak, and we need visual dictionaries. We need bus rider atlases so we know the jurisdictions. I'm working on that because it isn't going to happen otherwise. Also the how-to thing, how to get around the region and address not only the accessibility. Trimet does a very, and I'm saying this is a 50-year Trimet rider. I have a schedule for the Dunthorpe Motor Transport in 1969, September 8th, Monday, and that was good over 50 years ago. Anyway, we need to define the terms of accessibility from the curb to a building and accessible mobility between curb sites. Example, get from this facility where we're seating to the council chamber of the Metro Regional Headquarters. You got problems getting from 600 Northeast Grand Avenue into the building. It's about a 200-foot circumnavigation. There's no signage, so on and so forth. There are means of doing so, and I will tell you how to do them. I'm assessing that, and I'll make a visual dictionary of this so it's pretty explicit and communicate it to you. But action will need to be taken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Attaboy, he comes every month. He's trying.
Good morning. My name is David Ranney. I worked for Trimet for 35 years, and I was a light rail mechanic for 25 of those years. Went through the apprenticeship program. I became a journeyman mechanic. I worked as a floor mechanic, a rebuild mechanic, an assistant supervisor for years, and a supervisor. And I'm here to really champion the apprenticeship program. It's a great way for people to start up the ladder at Trimet, and it's really, really necessary for people to get that level of training so that they can work their way up. In 25 years, I saw instances where people were not properly trained and they damaged equipment or preventative maintenance was deferred or not done because they didn't have the training. And Trimet has always, for some reason, felt that you can hire any mechanic to work on any machine, or you can hire any supervisor to supervise any workforce, and it's just not true. For something as complicated as a light rail vehicle with all of the systems that it has and they all interact together, you really need the training, the in-school, in-class training, and the on-the-job training to learn how to work on those or to supervise the people that are working on them so that they can be properly maintained. So I'll keep it brief and just say that, and I really, really appreciate being allowed to speak to you guys and gals. Thank you.
Don't appreciate it. It's a law.
All right, the next two I have is Andrew Gallagher and Joe Ruffin, both of you with ATU. And then I have one more person after that.
Okay. Look at Joe. Look at Joe. Cowboy Joe Ruffin.
Hi, my name's Andrew. I've been with Trimet coming up on 6 years this summer. I've completed the light rail program. And I had a long speech because I did a little bit of research about some of you and what you claim to stand for. I'll try to keep it short. The light rail program with outside hires is going to fail. I come from a mechanical background. I've built cars from the ground up. And yeah, you might know how to turn a wrench, but you don't know any of the electronic side of it. It's like walking in to a dark room. And the one question I have is, why are they trying to go for these people? I don't know if you guys have seen the list, but it says once trainees are proficient at tasks, they may be assigned to work alone. And that is what Trimet has just posted this week on Trinet. So that doesn't say they have any certifications, any actual training. Just, hey, we decided you can work on your own. That becomes a big safety issue. As for example, as an apprentice, they had Siemens do Type 4 motor leads. Well, they subbed it out again. They borrowed my tools as an apprentice to do their job.
Wow. Wow.
And as far as people coming from backgrounds that don't know anything, my table mate, about 2 years before coming to the U.S., was an accountant in Morocco. He is now considered one of the best mechanics on our shift. So for taking away this apprenticeship, the promises, I even had it taken away at one point and then given back. They have us bid every 6 months for our jobs. Anyways, yeah, they let us bid, told us we got it, and then took it away and gave it to outside hires.
Wow.
Let us start about 6 months later.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Assholes.
Howdy, y'all. Joe Ruffin. ATU 757. Been ATU 29 years. Trimet 25. Started out automotive tech. Went to Laidlaw Transit. Became a diesel mechanic there. Went to Trimet. Thought I was going to be a diesel mechanic. Started look at the fleet buses and said, screw that. If I learn a new technology, I might as well go into trains because, fleet buses is totally different from regular diesel. I saw that right off the top. Totally different breed, So I went to rail maintenance. So rail maintenance, I went through that program, became a rail maintenance technician, Then, long story short, I chaired the JATC. So I've been chairing the JATC for over 10, 12 years, something like that. But I saw it change lives of people that came in there. Andrew was one that came in there when I was chairing the JATC. Changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah,
people that were cooks, people that had no clue on how to be mechanics, returned to technicians. It changed people's lives. I've seen it change several people's lives. It's an amazing program. We're one of the best in the nation. So I sat on the E7 committee, Transportation Learning Center. We were proud. We was one of the best in the country. Everyone, we were the models for the country. We was it, like Dave K said. I know, I was there. I went to almost every transit agency there was with APA and the Transportation Learning Center. We were the model. I helped write the training program for rail cars.
He's not lying about that. That's true.
With the Transportation Learning Center. Now, as also our program disintegrate through time, as our trainers left and went down through technology of the new vehicles, that wasn't a reason for us to get rid of the program. We could have worked together to bring in new people to form it and make it better. That's all it took. Just work with the ATU, work with the JATC to bring it back. We didn't have to throw the whole thing out. And we can still revive this program. But,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the last person is Ben Fain.
Oh, Ben.
And thank you for your patience, everybody, hanging in there.
There's Bob Cummings. I see him. I see Bob. He was my co-conspirator. I see you, Bob. Should have gone up there,
Mr.
Bob.
Warner and board members, I thank you for being flexible. Every bus operator has to be very flexible all day long. Things change and they change pretty quickly. And for you to be flexible enough to allow everybody to speak here is pretty awesome, I believe. I have a couple of issues that I wanted to talk about, and I've talked to you about one of them before. I've talked to the ATU officers about it too. It is the wait, let me digress. I started driving in 1964. Wow. I drove a local delivery, then I drove school buses out of Beaverton School District, and then I drove a semi over the road for 3.5 years. Then I made a good move. I came to Trimet in 1975. I worked 26 years as an operator. I retired 18 years ago tomorrow. And my experience with Trimet has been good for me. Not everyone's the same, but that part's good, and I'm glad I am where I am. I had a 31-year National Safety Council award, and
31.
I know a little bit about driving. Driving different vehicles for different groups or companies. I learned a lot about maintenance too, not repairing things, but I knew good maintenance from bad. And when I was driving a semi, I was out on the road for up to a week or 10 days. When we came back into town, we let the mechanics know what our particular tractor needed or a trailer, and it was taken care of. When I came to Trimet, you could take a look at the, I hope you'll be flexible enough to let me go beyond that light. You could take a look at the maintenance facilities down at Center Street, and there were broken windows. It looked like a building from World War II. It was worn out completely when Trimet was formed and took that over. There were birds flying in and out of the place and roosting there. And things have progressed very well in a lot of cases with Trimet. This step wage problem, when you hire people...
I have to ask you to be quick here.
Okay.
All right.
When you hire people, I know that you've had a job fair in Vegas and you've had some...
Warner is such a piece of shit. This is the last guy. Give him what he needs. Asshole!
signs on all of the buses. The best thing that you could do, in my opinion, is to get rid of that step wage. A step wage lasts 3 years.
Yep,
that's
right.
36 months and 72 paid.
That's right. He hit the nail on the head with this is important. They can't find drivers. And the reason is because they start them so low. That didn't start happening until the late 80s, by the way. Everybody came in at the same wage. But as the neoliberals seized control of government, they destabilize the wages because everything they don't pay you, guess who gets it? Capital projects, executives. He's right. If you want to get drivers, you have to pay them, and they won't do that. They'd rather have people waiting at the curb than pay a wage.
Days, and you look at that thing, that's not building up your self-confidence or self-respect. The respectful thing to do for those people would to get rid of that step wage, and as soon as they're out on the bus by themselves doing the same thing that an operator who's been here 4 years is doing, that first day that they're out there by themselves, they should be paid the top wage.
Right. Absolutely. He's right.
I was told by you and by Mr. Kelsey and Mr. Prusser and some union officers that this is a contract issue, Ben.
Yeah,
You've got to go through the contract. Well, we're in the middle of a contract right now, I believe. And I think the next time you get together on both sides, you should talk about getting rid of that step wage. Those people are people too. The other issue I want to talk about is the apprenticeship program. Apprenticeships
You got 15 seconds, okay?
Oh,
don't listen to him. Just keep talking.
I saw a picture of
Ben.
a
Don't
bridge
listen to
that a friend of mine who was visiting family in Iran had taken. The bridge was something like 1,200 years old. That wasn't built by some guy finding some rocks and a little bit of mud and sticking it together. That bridge is going to last probably a lot longer than Tillicum Crossing will. And it's still as straight as it was the day it was set. That's what training does. There's training in apprenticeship training in all sorts of professions, and some of those people become artists, whether they believe it or not. Tile setters, especially. This apprenticeship program here gives confidence to the drivers, and it should give confidence to the riders. And it's also an important part of traffic safety here in town. When you have a problem with the bus and if it's stalled in traffic, somebody comes out there that knows what to do. The other part of this apprenticeship is that the industry has done itself a problem by buying different buses from different manufacturers, and every damn one of those wants proprietary issues that's peculiar to their thing only.
All right, Ben. Thank you, Ben. I'm going to have to cut you off.
Don't listen to him.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate
Just
your
keep
comment.
going. Okay. What do you think he's going to do to you?
Just super quick comment. I don't make a lot of comments, but Ben, I don't know if you remembered Apano, but you drove a bunch of community members, Apano, from Southeast Portland to the Capitol, and I was always in touch with you. So thank you for always doing that every year. Just wanted to say thank you.
Something nice.
And they sold that last bus just last year, so I'm walking again, but I'm ready. I've got other things to do, and being here has allowed me to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, one other thing that I got to make, and I might not be to another one of these meetings. One of the most valuable assets that Trimet has are the trained mechanics, the apprenticeship trained mechanics, and that should be considered every time that word apprenticeship comes in here. That is a valuable asset.
All right. Thank you. All right. Well, that concludes the public testimony this morning. I do want
Bob
to
Cummings right
say,
there.
again, appreciate everybody coming in. And there's some
There's Bob right there. Let's take a picture. Freeze frame. I got you. We're going to tweet you, Bob. Yeah, that was great testimonies, weren't they? I think that might have been actually the best testimonies I've ever seen, actually, especially from the union. I mean, really, the union people really nailed it, and they were good, and they were articulate, and they were smart, and wow, I am impressed. And I went an hour and a half, so he did. I'll give Warner some credit. Okay, he did let it go on, so he just threatened to stop it, but he did let it go. So we'll give the old guy some credit.